Coming up on the Unleashed podcast, the science is in. Dogs, it turns out, are great for kids. We'll also talk to you about how you can nominate Unleashed for Best of Madison 2024. Chad Fahey of Charlie's Bark Park and Canine Clarity will join us to talk about how to make your dog's boarding the greatest experience ever. And I'll tell you how Taylor Swift helped me make my Super Bowl pick.
Take me to play, 'cause I really like to go there. I will have some fun. I'll be soaking up the sun. Unleash the joy. Come stay and play. Unleash the fun. Unleash the fun. Unleash the joy. Come stay and play. Unleash the fun. Unleash the fun.
Hey, everybody, Ben Larson here, the host of the Unleashed Pawcast. Glad to have you along for the ride once again here this week. Been a great week, nice and warm, and dogs have had a great time. We've had a blast all around Unleashed. The January continues into February now with our Enrichment Daycare 2.0. We can get into all that. We've talked about in previous podcasts, but the warm weather is making it even nicer. And so the deal is, I always think of it this way, inevitably, we'll have another snowstorm. We'll have another cold snap. It's going to happen. But each day that passes is one day less that it can happen. See what I'm saying? Because the Earth, you see, is on an axis, and it's moving around the sun. And as you get toward March and April, it's just less likely you're going to get Arctic weather. Can happen. We know it can happen, but it's going well. And the dogs are certainly enjoying it, except for, those crazy Arctic breeds. They probably don't like it as much, but they're still okay. They're still having a good time. It's not like it's 90 degrees out there. So we've been having a great week. I wanted to highlight this week. We're doing a new segment each week on the podcast. It's going to be called Dog News, or, maybe cat news too. We'll probably have some cat news because remember, we board cats and we have cats and we have cat room and they have a good time. So we can always bring you cat news as well. But I wanted to share with you the dog news of the week. And that is they did a study in Australia. Okay. Which is great because they could do the study here too. And they could yield the same results. Turns out, I don't know if you know this or not, but dogs are good for kids. That's right. Science found they followed 600 kids for years. And they found that on average, if you have a dog in the family, your kid is going to get an hour more of activity, enriching activity or exercise. How about that? An hour a day, which is going to add up. Okay. So really good idea to get a dog. And if you don't have it, we all know this, right? Look, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, you probably have a dog, or I don't know what you're doing, but you probably have a dog. You probably have a pet of some sort. I'm always continually amazed, even though I'm in the industry, at how ubiquitous dogs and cats and pets of all types really are across the whole spectrum of society now. I think way more than even 10, 20 years ago. And they were, of course, very prevalent then. They always have been. But it's just amazing how many people and how many millions of dogs and cats and pets that we have in society. And same is true in Australia. But they did this study and they found that 52 minutes a day, especially for girls, they're getting more activity and more enriching exercise, which is great. And I can attest to this just myself, because when I was a kid, I got a dog. Now, my parents probably did it backwards. Usually, and this is the way my wife and I did it, we got the dogs first and then the kids. And we probably should not have done the kids. But the dogs are good for the kids, right? Maybe after 10 or 12 or 20 years from now, we'll say, oh, the kids are great. Because you know how you look back and you remember things with rose-colored glasses. But, we're in it right now. So anyway, the dogs tend to be easier to take care of than the kids, it turns out. But I digress. Point is, it's been good for the kids. And it's been good for me. It's good for everybody. I'm not even talking about myself because it's good for everybody. I come home and even though our dogs, Buster and Toby, have been with us usually all day at Unleashed, still get home and they're, in the living room and I'll play fetch with my dog Buster, especially because he's one of those dogs that gets kind of obsessed with playing fetch and will just, even across the living room, he just loves to have you throw anything. It can be a stuffed animal. It can be a ball. It can be anything. And you just throw it. He'll get it. He'll bring it back to you. Eventually he gives it back to you, you're taken from. And even that, I do that every single day. And I know that it relieves stress because he's so cute, so cuddly. You just ruffle up his face and you play with him and I mean, it's great. We all do it, right? It's awesome. And that's the fun of having dogs, and it's great for kids too. In fact, I'll say this again, my parents, great parents, but they screwed up the order for sure because I was the youngest. I have an older sister. I was the youngest. They got my dog Cocker Spaniel Taffy when I turned 5, and it messed me up for a while because I was the youngest. I was used to being the center of attention, getting my own way, and the dog comes in probably good for me ultimately, but there was a little rocky relationship there for a while. I teased the dog too much. I got in trouble. So it probably screwed it up. But there was some good to come out of it, and that was that they had to put me in my place, and the dog did that because they gave the dog more love and attention than they gave me, obviously. But it was good. So if you have the kids after the dogs, they're born into that, and then they can just love the dog because the dog's always been there. See, so just keep that in mind if you're thinking about which order you're going to do that. But anyway, that's dog news. Turns out dogs are good for kids, and there's like only a million other studies that talk about how good dogs are for everybody all the time in every stage of life. They're amazing. And that brings us to our faux sponsor, Squeaky Toys. Don't you love it? Squeaky Toys for dogs and any other animals. And they're so nice when you're at home and you get home from a long day of work or whatever you're doing, or maybe early in the morning, who knows, and the dog decides I'm just going to go and have some fun with the toy. Look, Squeaky Toys are, I guess, great. We have them. Do you ever wonder why you buy them? Because they're in the store. They're every store. They're probably more prevalent than the non-squeaky toys. And they, have the propensity to probably drive you insane. But we get them anyway. In fact, right now I locked my dogs out of the office here to do the podcast because they'll probably bother me too much while doing the podcast. And I know they're going nuts right now because they can hear this. Look, it's a stimulating thing, right? It's a stimulating thing, and that's why they love it. They perk up anytime I'm at any corner of the house. All I have to do to get their attention, a couple squeaks, they're right there, right? And they want to play, and it's just like almost an involuntary reaction now. Even if they're tired and they don't want to play with the toy, they got to come. It's just how it is. So why? Well, it's enriching, right? The dog's ears are so much more sensitive than ours. By the way, I like that picture of Buster in my squeaky toy there. He's got one that's my lap. That was last night. Okay, and he was right there, and that's what I'm talking about. He comes in and he's walks up, puts his head in your lap. You got to take the toy, throw the toy, go chase the toy, squeak the toy. It's a good time. But again, enrichment, and that's what we're doing all day long at Unleashed. So if you're thinking, hey, I need to get my dog somewhere out during the day to do this, and you haven't done this yet, you should do this. And if it's not a dog park, in fact, I want to focus today on the third category there, the solo daycare. Now that's for dogs who one of the reasons you might have solo daycare is because dogs can't have group play. There are a lot of dogs who cannot have group play. Maybe it's your dog. Whatever the reason. If they just don't get along, they can be a risk to other dogs or themselves. Maybe they're too anxious and just can't be in group play. Maybe they just don't like other dogs and they're going to start fights, and that poses too much of a risk. And maybe your dog has been kicked out of daycare, right? And you've tried it and it hasn't worked, or you go to the dog park, it won't work there either. Whatever the case may be. Some dogs, you'll go to the dog park and you'll get through and they'll do okay, but then you go to daycare setting and they just can't do it. And so the daycare people have to come in. We've had to do this before we started Daycare 2.0 in our enrichment daycare program. There were a lot of people we had to turn away at Unleashed, and it sucks. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. This is part of the reason we did this, is because we want to create an opportunity for you to be able to bring your dog and, for whatever reason, not allowed in group play, not get along with other dogs. Well, we have the opportunity in solo daycare for your dog to do 3 to 5 enrichments. 3 is a minimum, 5 you can purchase or pay a little more for each additional enrichment. But enrichment activities like agility, slat mill, ball pit, snuffle mat, puzzle, scavenger hunt, walk, fetch. We got tons. We had someone who's interested in coming to Unleashed who just wants us to do at least 2 sessions and then one other session, but 2 30-minute sessions of fetch. And you think about that. If it's a dog with a ton of energy, let's say a lab, and you can just go in one of our play yards and play fetch and have that bond and connection and just that 30 minutes. That's a long time when you think about it, and wear that dog out. Otherwise, you'd just be sitting at home and you'd have all that energy for you when you come home from work. We can do that with our solo enrichment program, and it's great. So what a great opportunity that not a lot of people can provide, and we can provide it at Unleashed. If your dog just for whatever reason can't have the social play, the group play, we can do the solo enriching daycare, and we can do it here at Unleashed. So check us out, and you can always go to our website, and we'll have that information for you further later on the podcast. In fact, I'll just do it now. Unleashedmadison.com is our website. Choose the chat bot. If you have questions, you can call, you can email, you can text, you can do whatever and get a hold of us, and we'll answer questions for you. But you can bring your dog to Unleashed. And again, maybe it's a situation too where you want some more advanced training. We can do that. We're not hugely advanced trainers, but we can do some basic manner training, some leash walk training, some of that stuff, some confidence building training, which is a little step up in our enrichment program. We can do that. We can do some of these activities. We can do exercise. We can do mental stimulating enrichment. All these options are available through any of our enriching programs, but certainly our solo daycare program. And we can help your dog too. If maybe it's borderline, your dog is, and maybe can have some group play, but had some incidents or whatever the case may be, we can see what we can do there in terms of, small group play, heavily supervised. Work your dog into a situation where, hey, maybe they can join the pack down the road. We've seen that. We've done that before. We worked at that when we were kind of doing our enrichment program in beta, and it worked out well. So again, that's a great way to do it, and you won't have to come home and maybe hear the squeak as much. You can just get the thing out of there. Can't do it. Anyway, that is our solo enrichment program and our faux sponsor, Squeaky Toys, here at Unleashed. So we will bring Chad Fahey on momentarily from Charlie's Bark Bark and Canine Clarity to talk about tips he has. He's been in it for 15 years plus, running a boarding facility. He's got some fantastic tips, and we talk about what we do at our facilities as well to keep the environment clean and disease free. So it's really good stuff from Chad coming up. You won't want to miss that. But first, I want to get into nominating Unleashed for the Best of Madison. So what you want to do is go to Channel 3000 and search Best of Madison 2024. You'll click on their link and you'll land on this screen. Okay. And then you're going to go down, and the rules are really kind of funny on this one. But we'll take it. Unlimited nominations. Basically, each email address that you enter can nominate Unleashed one time per day. So once per day per email address for the rest of February. Nominations going all the way through February 29th. So for instance, I was able to think of about 15 email addresses between my family and me, and I can go and nominate Unleashed every single one of those 15. And we need your help. Okay. We need your help to nominate Unleashed because we need to get into the top 6 in our category. And then in June, everybody votes. And in the June run at it, you can only vote one time, which is probably a good thing. But each email only gets one vote in June. But for now, it's just kind of unlimited. It's kind of like an all-star game in sports where you can just, vote early, vote often. Some people would argue that's what the American election system is. Well, wait, I'm bringing politics into it. Just kidding. But anyway, this is vote often, vote every day. You can do it. So basically what we do is we go down, again, from the Best of Madison. You land on that link, and then you go and you click on Home and Lifestyle. And you're going to go down and search pets, okay? And you're going to land on pet services. And again, qualifiers include services for grooming, boarding, dog walking, waste removal. So, of course, we are grooming, boarding, and daycare. And you click on that, and it'll zip you down right here to this little screen, or part of the screen, a field to fill. And I'm going to just fill in Unleashed. And either of these will work, but you'll probably just want to choose Unleashed. Okay, so Unleashed. And then I'm going to enter in my email, info@unleashedmadison.com. Trying to type while I do this, and I'm doing okay. info@unleashedmadison.com. That is, of course, our website. So you can check us out there, and then you can continue. And what it'll do is have you enter in your name. So I'm Ben Larson, okay, and then I live in 53527. So enter in your zip code, and then I'll just share my birthday with you. Why not? Actually, I'm gonna put a faux year in there so you won't even know. You can't even tell, can you? I was born in the 1900s. It's true. Anyway, so there we go. So I'll go nominate, and then you can unclick that mark if you want, because you don't get any, unless you want promotional materials from Murphy Media. But then you go ahead and nominate, and it's that easy. It'll verify it, and it will have success. So there you go. So that's how you do it. And you just nominate, again, once per day per email. So I'm going to go in every day myself. Of course I am, and I'm going to do a ton of nominations. But we need your help. If you love Unleash and you want us to get into the top 6, and then maybe in June we could be voted the best of Madison, that's what we're going for. We need to get there. And so we need your help to nominate us for Best of Madison. So again, go to channel3000.com or just Google Best of Madison 2024. You'll land on that site, and then there'll be a block that allows you to say, hey, nominate for Best of Madison. You click on it. Again, we are in home and lifestyle is our category, and pets, pet services is our heading category is home and lifestyle. And then under that, pet services is where you want to nominate, and use your email address, vote early, vote often, vote every day, and help make us the best in Madison here in 2024. Chad Fahey is the owner of Charlie's Bark Park and Canine Clarity, training and boarding in Belleville, and joins us here on the Unleashed podcast once again. Chad, really appreciate the time. We're going to talk about boarding today because just like Charlie's has daycare and grooming for that matter, also has boarding, and again, was instrumental when Unleashed did our kennel renovation, our kennel building renovation back in February and March of 2023. Chad had been working with us, really me, for the previous year to design it and to get a great facility going. So we're going to talk about what we did there in terms of how the facility functions and cleanliness and what we do to make sure that our dogs stay healthy, because a lot of that knowledge comes from our guest here, Chad, but also boarding in general, because again, 15 years of experience goes a long way in talking through how to help pet parents, prepare for boarding, make sure that it's as successful as possible for their dogs. So Chad, let's start here. There's a lot of services out there with boarding and options like Rover or in-home care and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So why take your dog to a facility like Charlie's or Unleashed as opposed to, Rover or some of those online services?
That is a great question. We get asked that all the time. As the climates change, which we know is happening, there are more choices for humans. So, and our industry has to do a really good job to stay sharp on our edge. But the difference between Rover.com and Unleashed and Charlie's Bark Park is safety, insurance, education, all around. Rover.com is average everyday humans that are busy. Say you're a programmer during the day, but you love dogs. You just love dogs. You're going to start caring for dogs at night. Well, those humans don't understand behavior. They might not understand canine CPR. They will not have the leash skills, and the dogs outside, I'd say 90% of our dogs in America are a bit reactive. So the reactivity when they have to handle them, the risk is just up. The dogs are out in the community. They're not in an enclosed facility that is built to keep a dog safe. I mean, the amount of work that we put into your facility and ours to create safe environments for dogs to be in. When you're going on a vacation, I tell people you're going to pay more usually at a Rover.com than you're paying at Unleashed and Charlie's Bark Park. So you're going to pay more money for less experience in a not controlled environment. And then insurance and bonded, business is insured and bonded. So we can offer you some rest assured that we're taking care of your dog. We have experienced staff. We have more than one person on staff. We have 3 or 4 at a time at both of these facilities, which make an owner feel more comfortable. The facilities are secure at night. This all makes the chance of a dog getting out of our facilities like 0.0001, out of one of our facilities actually getting out the front door, because we have multiple doors to the front door, versus a dog getting out of a Rover.com house. It's happened to a couple of our clients. And if you end up having an incident in one of those scenarios, you'll learn quickly, but just educating your customer that not every dog, now there are a few dogs that are not that suited for boarding environments. They're too stimulated and they're harder to handle. Those dogs need a different type of scenario. So that's where I believe Rover.com to come in to say, look, I have a very old dog. It's not good to stimulate at that level. Yeah. You're right. Then you use one of those services. I have a very young puppy. I'm worried about spread of disease. Okay, fine. Use Rover.com for once or twice. But making sure that you have a dedicated kennel that you use for your family is a great idea. And how I point clients to that is, if you use the facility for daycare, overnight boarding would be flawless to your dog, because staying overnight at Disneyland would be awesome for any kid. So when we want to teach a client how to board, we teach them how to daycare first. Why? Because we're going to bring you into that environment in a positive association. Dogs don't like to be away from their packs. Owners don't like to be away from their dogs. There's lots of emotional feelings there. So we want to help mitigate that by making the experience the best for the dog. So how we're going to do that is through the educating of the process with the owner and the dog.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic in terms of the idea of coming in and doing daycare first to get a great feeling about the facility for your dog is outstanding, and one that I know we certainly have suggested, and maybe we should do a little bit more of, because it really does help that transition for first-time boarders for sure, because it is a lot.
Absolutely.
If a dog's never boarded before, to come in and say they're, I don't know, a couple, 3 years old, something like that, and all of a sudden, there's all these dogs around, and you go into a kennel, and it's a lot to take on from a stimulation, emotional standpoint for your dog, for sure.
Absolutely. And slowing that down and bringing it from a more positive angle, the daycare just does that. We actually ask all new clients to try daycare prior if your dog is social. So, and if you have time to plan that into your schedule, and then you're going to know where your dog is. A lot of these facilities are going to be able to do report cards, updates, send you pictures. We do Facebook things. Your dog's going to be involved in activities at a center. None of that's going to happen in a rover.com environment. None of that. You don't even really know what's happening in some of those environments because they're not pet people. They could be going to work all day and going out at night, and your dog's alone anyways. So at the end of the day, your dog, if it's in a facility, you have services, and Charlie's has services that will offer your dog some interactive playtime, some private walking to teach a skill, snuggle times with dogs, and then the activities that we throw out, both of these facilities, Unleashed and Charlie's. Those activities are extremely fun for dogs. So during a vacation, if your dog can be in a Disney photo shoot or a football photo shoot, along with making a special ornament for mom and dad, that's something that can't happen at rover.com, only Unleashed and Charlie's.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that way, and that's a good point. And you know what, Chad? What you're doing right now is you're reminding me how great that is. So I appreciate it. I'm going to start talking more with our customers about that too, because you kind of get into a pattern and you forget the service that you provide sometimes can be pretty valuable in that standpoint. Not to mention, we don't need to go into it, but I wouldn't really want someone coming into my house unless, of course, I know them, and so that sort of thing too is like that gives me another level of anxiety if I'm on vacation that I don't want to deal with. But let's talk about a lot of what we do to clean and to disinfect. And I just did a series on this late in 2023 here, depending on when you're watching this, but I did a video presentation about how we clean at Unleashed, because there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about the increased illnesses, and it's tamped down a little bit. At first, people thought it was this whole new dog disease that was going around. It looks like that's not the case now, that it's maybe a variation, or there's just some increased flu or pneumonia going around, but it's not a whole different strain of disease. However, canine cough, respiratory illness, of course it's going to spread and have the chance to spread in a kennel facility, because just like humans, when you go into a preschool or elementary school, high school, whatever the case may be, it's human-to-human contact. You're going to have the same risk with dog-to-dog contact. However, we've implemented some of the things that you've done at Charlie's, and I have to say, I mean, we're very happy with the results. Not that a dog never gets sick. That's not, I don't think, possible. However, we keep the air moving. We'll talk about this, Chad, because you can probably go into it more, but we exchange air, we keep it moving, we have UV light, we do cleaning. I mean, it's pretty good every day, and I've really been happy, running the facility with how clean and how it smells. I mean, and how the results have been with our dogs boarding with us. So you play a big role in that, one, and two, you have learned this way over 15 years at Charlie's, right? How to keep a facility clean, and you really do a great job. So tell me a little bit about what your philosophy is there.
Well, the cleanliness of a facility, when I wrote the business plan, was the most important. Humans didn't want to go to kennels because back in the late 80s, early 90s, kennels were small. They weren't commercialized yet. They were not kept up, and the smell that goes along with them associates that to the kennel, to prison. And then the owners are like, oh, this is a terrible place for my dog. And it's like, no, the boarding kennel environments have changed over the years to be more clean, uplifting, colorful, spacious. We understand that, yes, it takes a lot for a dog to take on one of these environments in certain cases, but the cleanliness, just like janitors, you mentioned schools. Yeah, if you're going to have community schools, we're going to have kids that get sick. They're going to get colds. They're going to get flus. They're going to pass stuff. It's going to happen. But we have janitors at schools. Janitors always walking around cleaning, scrubbing, disinfecting things from the floors to the walls in a school. They're there when the kids aren't and when they are. At our facilities, we're doing that every single day. So every day that we do what we call, quote unquote, the run. We call it the run because it's a lot of exercise. It's what keeps everyone healthy inside these kennels. When you're pulling up bedding, shaking it down, cleaning it, washing it if it needs it, wiping out the water bowls, not just dumping out the water, but wiping it out with a clean rag. And then vacuuming the entire facility, coming through, mopping it with a Parvo vet grade animal chemical that we all use. So we're cleaning that floor. We're cleaning the floor. We're cleaning the walls. The cots are getting wiped down every single day, fresh bedding if it's needed, fresh water. So the dogs are getting a fresh environment every day. So another reason why you'd want to use us over Rover is let that water bowls clean every day. How often do you clean your water bowl at home? Like weekly. Yeah, maybe weekly, or sometimes I look down and go, oh my God, look how yellow that is.
Whoops.
I'm a trainer. So it's like when you know that all of this cleanliness and the focus on cleaning, goes into the moving of the air. That's the most critical, that we move the air. If you look at some barns are built with no sides. Why? They need the air to move, keep the cattle healthy. The air movement is what keeps the animals, for some of those respiratory illnesses, from settling. Now, obviously, we both deter people and educate clients again on, if your dog is coughing, please don't bring it to school, just like your child. But sometimes they slip in and there's going to be a sickness within our environment. It's not related to the cleanliness. The cleanliness in both of these facilities. I think we follow such a tight line. When people come in and tour at both of them, I know this is to be a fact because I've heard from both sides, your clients and mine, that when they walk through, it just smells so clean. Well, if you feel like that and you're the client, you're going to feel better about leaving your dog in that environment. So that was my whole goal in the beginning, was associate the scent of the environment, not with Glade plugins. That doesn't work. You actually have to do it through cleaning, and you have to understand the industry and know types of cleaning that are more effective. And then we both installed Mason kennels that have the anti-contamination drip thing underneath each one of the dividers between the kennels. So if a dog were to get sick and puke in one kennel, it can't get to your other kennel. There's no way it soaks into the other side because of that track that went in there. So even the amount of work that went into planning the kennels that we bought so that we can lower the amount of contamination within the facility, all of that was thought of. I would feel more comfortable boarding my dog with a dog freak like one of us than again a Rover.com. Somebody that spent their entire life thinking about these things is going to have a safer environment all around, from cleanliness to security.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think you had imparted this to me, and it was so powerful to think about. If I walk into our kennel room and experience a bad smell, fire alarms go off in my head. I'm like, oh, where's that coming from? We make sure that we're taking care of that right away, the source of it. And it doesn't. The goal is that it doesn't even smell like, if you walk into a vet clinic, to be honest, right? And that's the goal, because I've had a couple of customers comment to me that it smelled like a swimming pool, and I view that as a positive, because it's like that clean smell. That's what we're going for, because you can't have that. You can't cover, if you're not doing a good job cleaning and that bacteria builds up and creates a smell. You can't cover it with Glade plugins. That's not going to work. It's like we all know that, right? So it has to be true.
Those dogs will also start to get sick in those environments, and as those dogs start to get sick, what happens to the community is the word spreads. The best way to get a suggestion to take a dog to a boarding facility, I tell people the best possible way is, you can read Yelp and you can read reviews, but the best way is to ask your neighbor. Right. Do you use the local facility? And if you do, how do you feel about it? Personal referrals are a way to get people into the facility, I think. but the cleanliness, that's going to come up in that conversation. It always does with our clients. Oh my God, it's so clean in there. Have you been in there? Yeah, it smells like a pool. I mean, it was the middle of the day when I took a tour. This last lady said it was the middle of the day. And it was like a moist day outside. So it was wet. She was thinking all I'm going to smell is wet dog. And she was blown away. As all she could talk about was, I feel like this place is as clean as a health club. It's like, well, it's not quite that clean, but it is a dog kennel, but we do focus on those areas. And we also want to highlight that to our clients because that's safety for their pet. Again, that's another thing another sliver that went into the pie. That made it safer and more secure for their animal while they're away, because you have to be away from your dog at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And you always want to ease that anxiety and worry and do everything you can for sure. And definitely having the multiple doors to prevent any dogs from escaping, that sort of thing. The flow of the facility is so important. Things that I know you and I spent hours, I think, going over when we were trying to figure it out with Unleashed. For sure.
I think it's efficiency equates to dollars in labor. And stress to staff. Stress to staff is going to go to the dogs. So the more clean, especially in your facility where that flow rate is happening, everyone can stay more calm. You can have a fair amount of humans there and everybody can be calm, which is going to make a better environment for the Unleashed dogs and the Charlie's dogs every second.
And so the thing that, again, you're doing at Charlie's, we do at Unleashed for sure, is to help with the total experience for their dogs. For the social dogs, we can add daycare to boarding. We also have some enrichment activities, walks, personal playtimes. All of that stuff is all available to help your dog through the boarding experience if they're not social or somehow not available for daycare. But beyond that, so you kind of as a pet parent know that all that stuff is there and your dog can have a wonderful time from that respect. But beyond that, Chad, what do you tell and advise your customers in terms of not only preparing for the boarding, and we can start there to make sure that the boarding experience can be as good as possible for your dog? What can you do beforehand? But then also there's some things to watch for afterward that are fairly common that we want to be sure people are aware of, that when their dog returns home, let's say you've been away for a week to 10 days, that's a big transition for a dog, both into and out of the boarding facility. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So again, training your dog to board. Years ago, I did a radio show on Tuesdays down in Monroe in Northern Illinois. And my last show was on training your dog to board because I just had so many families that would get, 8-9 years into a dog's life because the families, we stay local and your brothers, sisters, uncles, and aunts can watch your dog for you most of the time because you're scared to board it. But then the family's going to have a family wedding or a family reunion in Cancun and the entire family was going to go. And all of a sudden, there's an emergency backlash. Do we need somewhere to put all of our family's dogs all of a sudden? And then those dogs come into the facility. Well, at that age, without having that exposure and education, dogs, again, pattern-driven environmental creature, if you didn't put a little work into exposing them to our types of environments, it can be an incredible lot for dogs to enter at an older stage. It can be very stressful. That's what I call the old depiction of daycare, of boarding, is what people think. Oh my God, my dog's going to be stressed, going to be sitting in a kennel shaking. Yeah. It's not. Even like you said, we have the activities for the social dog. We also have the activities for the ones that aren't quite as social or are older. Making sure that we educate our clients on, let's get to know the facility and the environment. Why? Because I wouldn't want to drop my kid off for the first time ever in this environment. We take our kids before they go to college, multiple times to the colleges. Yep. Why do we do that? We do that to help our child feel comfortable before leaving them from the den and letting them go off to school and become a young adult. We do this already. So teaching our clients to take a little bit of time before your vacation to get to know the staff, the facility, take a tour, make sure that you trust the facility, because if you don't trust the facility inside, you're going to look for every little nook and cranny for something to complain about. So if you build trust and you get to talk to the staff, and maybe you try daycare 4 or 5 times before if you can, or you just stop in after reading the website and talk to the team, send some messages. Both of these facilities will respond to you and help you feel more comfortable, answer your questions. All of that is super important to that transition. And then that first stay, getting a report card to the client, letting them know. We have 6 dogs, a 6-dog family that's boarding with us over this holiday.
Wow.
First time boarding. Yeah, mom was very nervous, so she was calling us every day. She was sending messages in every day for the first 4 days. The responses that she got were so thorough and wonderful that she has stopped reaching out. We have reached out a couple times to her, and she was like, "Oh God, oh my God, I'm so comfortable with you guys." So the amount of follow-up that a facility is going to give you, but that takes the owner to make sure that this happened before the stay, because that imprint, it's from the training world, the imprint, the first time a dog sees an environment, yeah, if it's crazy and it's holiday time, maybe you want to board your dog in a September, right after school opened for a day or two, and then get the feedback from Unleashed staff. How did my dog do? I really didn't go anywhere. Me and the wife just went to dinner and did something, but you're practice boarding. So we have many clients that will call up, like if you called up right now and wanted to book for next June because you have a family vacation, we would educate you now, hey, we've not seen you yet, so do you want to bring that dog in? Do you want to come in and take a tour? Anything to make everybody feel comfortable. They have all the data that they need before their stay. They know what to bring. They don't bring too many things. They come in when they drop their dog off for boarding. That's one thing that I teach owners, that if we remember dropping our babies off at daycare, your emotional state makes a big difference. So if you walk into a boarding kennel and you want to cry as the owner because you're leaving your dog, have the other party in the family take the dog into the boarding kennel so that the dog gets a more positive connection to the facility. But if you did your job and the dog went to daycare and it's been there, it took a tour or two, I do recommend that when you take a tour of a facility that you bring your dog in. I always tell the clients, bring your dog in. Don't leave it in the car. They always have the dog. It's in the car. And then afterwards, like, oh, the dog's in the car. Bring the dog in. Let him meet us. The dog could have went through the experience with mom and dad at the same time.
Okay.
And saw the facility, which is really great for a dog to see it with mom and dad and then leave with mom and dad. And then they, oh, the first time I smelled Unleashed and met Ben and the team was this day, but then I came back for a couple days of play and oh my God, Ben and his staff are awesome. And then they get super excited and charge the dog. And then the humans get very excited because, oh my God, I'm picking my dog up from Unleashed and Charlie's. The dog's so happy. Yes. Yeah. Now you go to board and it's a transition that's almost seamless. But then that feedback that we give as a facility, you know, your first day is going to come with a report card with pictures, if not communications to you, so that you know if there's any problems, we're always going to reach out to clients right away at both of these facilities, which makes especially like this first time family with a ton of dogs. I mean, the bill's going to be huge, but it's not about the money as it is about the peace of mind. So do you have a peace of mind if you're using a rover? You have a dog sitter, but do you have a peace of mind? I don't know. I worry. I would never use it. I would put my dog in a facility before I even left. Even though I own it, once I get rid of these facilities and move on, I will use a facility for the future for my own dogs. But I will acclimate my dogs to that environment prior, just for them and for my peace of mind.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Great advice. I'll get you out of here on this. The return home. Let's say again, you've had your dog at the facility for a week to 10 days, even 4 to 7 to 10 days, whatever the case may be. You know, we've had some people call in and say, my dog won't wake up, or my dog drinking a ton of water. What, you guys giving water? What do you hear, and what is common?
I wrote a note down earlier, and it was just that. It was the first thing we tell owners at daycare and boarding is that when your dog comes home, they are going to be thirsty. Yeah. Because I don't know how much, 70% of these humans are going to, is there water outside? Yeah. It's like, yes, we've been doing it for 15 years. There's gallons of water outside. But dogs are nose, eyes, ears. That's their sensory direction is nose, eyes, ears. We are eyes, ears, nose. So a dog, when it sticks, and dogs can smell through concrete. Their nose is incredibly powerful. So when a dog sniffs a water bowl that's been licked in and slopped on by like 20 dogs, the new dogs can have so much to take in on scent that they don't drink as much. Now, in our kenneling overnight boarding, we have private bowls in the runs. It's different. Those dogs are going to go outside, not drink in the community bowls, but when they come inside, they're going to drink in their runs. So your typical boarding kennel client drinks more than the daycare client when it starts out. Every daycare dog will get acclimated to the smells of their buddies, and they'll be totally fine with drinking out of community water. And it won't be something that owners see after 4 or 5 visits. They'll see that the dog's drinking. It won't look abnormal when they get home. But boarding dogs, they can come home anxious. Now, we all know what bloat is in this industry.
Mhm.
And allowing dogs to come home from a boarding environment, when you change environments like that for elongated time, like over 7 days, like you said, 7 to 10 days,
Mhm.
anything over 7 days, we tell you don't go home and just pour down the gallon of water and let the dog suck it all up and then run all around the house. That could cause a problem, a health concern. When they enter the environment, try to use some mental stimulation, some affection, to let your dog, you're welcome home. And within a half hour, offer them water once they've calmed down.
Mhm.
But they're very excited to be home and see the pack again. So you
Yep.
have to remember that equates to like, I'm a big dog and I'm going to start to drink a lot. And then I'm going to see the family and get super excited, then drink some more. That could pose a problem. So educating the client that be aware of that. Also be aware of not lethargia. Like you said, the dogs, is he going to wake up? Yes, they exercised more in a boarding environment. They exercise their senses, their nose, eyes, ears, and their physical mind and body. So your dog is going to be far more tired. Any dog that spends a day with me for training
Mhm.
in a training realm, which is not always stimulated and moving, our days aren't, they'll come home blasted tired. It'll take days to get that dog back on track just because the mental stimulation and the physical was adequate.
Mhm.
So making sure that when you bring your dog home, you give them a little downtime between that, and that you expect a little them to be excited in the beginning, but then probably them to crash for the night. Just like us coming home from a long vacation, our beds are the best. So we're
Yep.
going to get home. We're going to feel cozy in our house. Within a day, we're going to be back on track. Again, that energy drain might take a couple days for the dog to get back to like perkiness of the family, but it doesn't mean he's unhealthy. It just means he used more energy than his body was physically ready to output,
Yeah.
because normally in a domesticated
Yeah.
house, it doesn't happen,
Yeah.
unless it's a
No.
daycare client or a high
Yeah.
activity dog.
Yeah, no, for sure. Great advice, because it's just important to remember that, I think, and sometimes people get a little scared, or
Oh yeah.
what's wrong with my dog? And no, it's okay. These are common things that we certainly can advise, and always do a better job of communicating with our customers too. That, hey, this is something that
And
can certainly happen. So
something that I missed was, don't start of dog's first vacation as a 7 to 10, 14-day vacation, your
right.
first cruise. Try to practice the boarding. So
Mhm.
that's what we can initiate with the client, but the clients that watch this can be educated to be like, oh yeah, maybe I should go seek a facility because I know I got a wedding coming up in April.
Yep.
Maybe I should find a facility. We also educate our clients to find a backup facility. Why? Because if we're your first facility, we love you. We are thankful to be in that space and place. But if we're full, which frequently we are,
Mhm.
we want you to have another alternative plan. So we teach our clients to have a second kennel that you've also used, so that your dog
Mhm.
isn't caught off guard when it gets there, and you
Yep.
don't have an anxious experience because you don't trust the facility. Have two of those and be prepared to use them as you go through your lives, because there will be times where we need to board our dogs. And it's a
Yeah.
healthy, safe solution for pet
Right.
owners to use facilities like Unleashed and Charlie's.
Yep. No, I know. It's one of the things I don't like is having to turn people away at holiday or busy summer weekends. We do,
Oh,
though. It happens for sure. And it does stink, especially our common customers. That's the worst thing for me to have
yes.
to say, oh, I'm so sorry, but there's nothing we can do. We're full, and we're only allowed to have so many dogs. So it is what it
We
is.
only handle so many dogs. That's
Yeah.
where, we as facilities can team up and send dogs to other facilities. We have a facility in Oregon that we send so many dogs to.
Hmm.
He does the same for us. So because
Yeah.
he's the closest to us. So if he's
Right.
full, he's going to say Charlie's. If we're full, we're going to say Old Stone. And that's just how we're going to help our clients find that
Yeah.
place and that
Yeah.
space, because we want you not panicking, We want
Exactly.
you
I know.
trusting the
Yeah.
experience. And when customers aren't comfortable, teaching your client to communicate back
Hmm.
is a really safe place for everyone, because Unleashed and Charlie's will get better. We wouldn't be better at Charlie's if we weren't listening to the client and the
Yeah.
customer, dog and human.
Yeah.
So it's really important
sure.
to pay attention to that stuff and allow an open environment. And I think both of our facilities do that for the client.
Yeah.
So they feel comfortable saying, hey, I don't feel like I was serviced right, or,
Right.
or I
Yeah.
feel this way. And then we can help educate them. Oh no, that's how you feel. Here's what we really did. And
Yep.
here's what was really happening. And then they
Yep.
can feel better about that. A lot of facilities don't have that communication. And
Yep.
that time spent at our front desk is incredible to the trust and the respect and love
Yep.
that's created between a client and a facility.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's huge. It goes such a long way, and we found that for sure. Chad, is always great. Really appreciate your time. We'll look
Thank
forward to
you.
having you on again soon, because again, a wealth of knowledge there for what you've given us so far and what we can do in the future. So again, as always, appreciate it, and thanks again.
Absolutely. I hope it helps.
Yeah. All right, my thanks again to Chad Fahey for giving us some great tips. Man, that's gold. I would listen to that again or watch that again, as you're getting close to boarding your dog. And it's just so much great information there about how to make your dog boarding more successful and how we can help you as well here at Unleashed. All right, before we go, it is time for our Super Bowl prediction. And I wanted to just talk about how uniquely qualified I am to make the Super Bowl prediction, because I have in person, whether she knows it or not, I have seen Taylor Swift in person twice this year. Once at Soldier Field in Chicago for a concert. Yes, I was counted amongst the Swifties back in June. Wouldn't have gone had it not been for my daughter. Okay, it's real. I'm not joking. You may think I'm joking. You may think I'm like a avid fan. I like Taylor. I've come to like her more, come to know a lot more of her music because of my daughter, which is truly a blessing. But I saw her for a second time at Lambeau Field in December when the Chiefs were playing the Packers. I was blessed this year after 32 years on the waiting list to become a Packers season ticket holder. And I went to the game, and I knew she was going to be there because everybody was saying she's going to be there because her boyfriend, who's just, the All-American, Travis Kelce, he was playing for the Chiefs. But what I didn't know is that she was going to be sitting right above me. Sorry, and see above, way up there at the top. There she is. So I'm sitting down. I actually had better seats than Taylor, to be fair, but she's up in the suite, and she's cheering there and having a good time, rooting for the wrong team, but I'll cut her some slack. So saw her in person. I was actually closer to her here than I was when I saw her at Soldier Field. But the Soldier Field experience is probably a little more entertaining, at least for me, having to see Taylor Swift. So anyway, here's the deal. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction, Super Bowl prediction. Okay, so it's Chiefs 1, 49ers nothing. I think the Chiefs have a Hall of Fame quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. He will toss a shutout. Travis Kelce with a home run in the middle innings, and Chiefs will make it hold up. And that's my prediction. Kind of a boring, low-scoring game, but that is officially my Super Bowl prediction here coming up on Sunday. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Have some snacks. Keep those chocolate snacks away from your dogs, okay? No dog chocolate. It's very, very bad. Grapes, raisins, no. Got to watch that. You have the Super Bowl party. Don't let your dogs near that stuff. If you're having a Super Bowl party and you need a place to put your dogs, think of Unleashed. We'll board your dog overnight at the Super Bowl party, okay? So that's the. By the way, if you're going to board your dog or pick up your dog overnight Sunday night, or you're picking up Sunday afternoon, please do it on the earlier side of our pickup window, because poor Amber, who's going to be there, is a huge Chiefs fan. Now, whatever. She lives in Wisconsin. She's a Chiefs fan. It's weird, very weird, but it is what it is. So she wants to get home and watch the game, just like last year. Someday I'll have these problems with the Packers, hopefully soon. But anyway, that's the story. Appreciate it. Have a great Super Bowl weekend, and we will catch up with you again and talk to you next week here at Unleashed. I did want to mention, too, if you want to check out any of our action on social media, as always, you can log in using the information at the bottom there. You can always text us. You can call us. You can email us. You can message us on our website. There is no shortage of ways. There are no shortage of ways to get a hold of us if you have questions or want to know more information about everything that's going on at Unleashed. And there's a lot going on at Unleashed. So be sure to get a hold of us. And again, like I said, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the last weekend of football. And enjoy this warm weather. We'll see if it continues. And we'll talk again, as always, next week right here on the Unleashed Pawcast.